separate the clothes. Ouch. So much crumbs here. It's probably Chelsea and her cookie. Now we need to add the wet ingredients. So we need the egg.
You know, with memes going around like that on the internet right now, you know the situation is very serious in Europe. Welcome back, beautiful and amazing human beings. This is Luke Radowski here of WeAreChange.org. And of course, we have so much important news to get into today. As of course, the situation gets more drastic by the day, as there are more escalations that are definitely worth talking about, as this is a very serious situation that is getting more serious by the day, and of course will be affecting you in one way or another. We're going to be talking about this plus a lot more all on this independent media organization. But before we do, on a personal note, I just finished my coverage from CPAC 2022, where the former president of the United States just announced that he's going to be running in 2024. I got some really amazing interviews from Lily Tang and from some really interesting doctors. Those videos will of course first be available on lukeuncensored.com, so stay tuned for those. But before starting this video, I also just wanted to preface that the situation in Ukraine is an extremely complex situation that has a lot of people emotionally invested in it, obviously because there is a massive human cost here. I just wanted to let you know that I will be doing my best to try to report on it correctly, and I might get it wrong sometimes, and I promise to tell you when I do, but just know we're doing our best to prevent it in the face of so much propaganda and disinformation out there. War is awful, it's tragic, it brings horrors and suffering to humanity, and no matter what previous foreign policy agenda was happening, when you start a war, you lose. It's a lose-lose situation, and as John Paul II said, war is always a defeat for humanity. And my personal perspective on this situation is that if a politician wants to start a war, he has to fight it himself, just like, you know, during medieval times. Now, I'm not gonna lie to you, but reporting on this situation has been very, very difficult, as of course there's a lot of unverified reports, videos coming out which are purely coming out for propaganda purposes. This is not only done by the West, it's also done by Russia, and with this being one of the first wars that's being broadcast on TikTok and on other major social media outlets, we have to understand that the people who control the algorithms control everything we see about this entire situation, which is having a lot of people question a lot of the bombastic, unbelievable, almost impossible stories like the Ukrainian Reaper and of course also the Ghost of Kiev. Stories that look like they're right out of movies that have garnered millions of views and shares, when of course there's not much evidence backing them or supporting them. Specifically with the Ghost of Kiev story, a story about a Ukrainian fighter jet shooting down 6 Russian jets, spread online after there was video footage from a video game shared online purporting to be the Ghost of Kiev. This has led to a lot of other people online to satirically make their own versions of the Ghost of Kiev, which some people have prophesized will soon be a Netflix original special. But I do have to point out that a lot of these propaganda efforts are especially counterintuitive, because this leaves a lot of people asking what's really going on here, and questions the credibility of other news that of course we're getting from the front lines. As of course there's also old footage of the Ukrainian president in full military gear running around Ukraine, which was taken years ago. It's being resurfaced right now, which is making some people question the validity of the Ukrainian president refusing to leave Ukraine. Now the president of Ukraine, along with the mayor of Kiev, Klitschko, staying in Ukraine and deciding to stand for their people is an important PR representation, especially with reports coming in that President Zelensky refused U.S.-devised escape plans and asked them for more ammunition instead, is important PR that is going to motivate some people to fight. Now, the president of Ukraine has also been releasing videos on social media. He was also able to galvanize Elon Musk to send Starlink satellite internet to the country of Ukraine to make sure that they do not lose service to the world. Now, of course, each country involved here has their different positions here, has their different messaging here, as of course even the Chinese embassy in Russia decided to specifically release a message to the world talking about who the real threat to the world is, alluding that it's the United States with their long bombing campaigns since, of course, the Korean War in the 1950s. And we have to understand that during a time of conflict, PR, information is absolutely critical to be able to achieve your goals. Now, of course, there's also the incredible story about the soldiers of Snake Island with an audio recording that has gone viral on the internet, shared by many mainstream corporate media outlets, allegedly showing 13 Ukrainian soldiers saying, "Idit nachuy," which is a not so nice way of saying bug off, to a major Russian military ship, which, according to the Ukrainian president, has led to, of course, the Russian battleship firing on the 13 Ukrainian soldiers, essentially taking them out. Some people have even questioned if that has even happened, but there are video reports allegedly coming from that island, with specifically even one video coming from a soldier that, of course, stopped broadcasting when he was fired upon by this Russian vessel. Now, even according to CNN, we're learning that the defenders of Snake Island may still be alive and prisoners of war, after, of course, original statements said that 13 of them were taken out. And as you can see, there's a lot of fog of war, and there's a lot of other reports out there that have not yet been verified, like this report from the Times of Israel that the Ukrainian forces have destroyed 56 Chechnyan tanks. There's also reports of Putin only sending in 1/3 of his military units that are stationed outside of Ukraine. And with information being weaponized as it has been, I think it's fair to say that we need more information more than ever in order to be able to independently verify what's been happening out there. But that looks like it's the opposite approach of some Western governments, as the European Commission is proposing even banning the broadcasts of Russian-related news organizations like Sputnik and RT. And I think it's fair to say, whether it's the West banning information or the East banning information and arresting protesters like the people of Moscow that have come out to the streets to protest this aggressive move by Vladimir Putin. Anytime that you limit speech, anytime that you limit the free exercise of ideas, you are the loser in people's minds. And I think any kind of suppression of information should be resisted and pushed back at this moment in time, especially with how key and critical information is right now, especially with the world on the brink of a major escalation very soon that might, of course, expand past Ukraine. But before getting into that and talking about the SWIFT bank account, we wanted to remind you that if you want to support this independent broadcast, you can very easily just by simply wearing a shirt. Yes, that easy. And going to, of course, thebestpoliticalshirts.com. Click the link down in the description below. Check out our latest shirts. We usually release a shirt once every week. This week, it is our latest Truck Yeah shirt that you could only get exclusively on thebestpoliticalshirts.com, as well as a lot of shirts, a lot of anti-war shirts to help spread this important messaging so it gets out there to the world. This is a way of doing lazy kind of activism, meeting some new friends, and repelling some bad people out of your life. The shirts we have will definitely raise some eyebrows, and I could almost guarantee make your life a lot more interesting, to say the least. Thebestpoliticalshirts.com. I hope to see you there. Now, if you remember, as I was talking about this specific topic not so long ago, one of the things that I have been warning about are the major ramifications if the West kicks Russia out of the SWIFT banking system. And just moments ago, the European Union just announced that they are banning certain Russian banks from this global financial system, which of course will create not only an extremely volatile situation on the world financial stage, not just disrupt international markets, which Russia previously warned that this would be a precursor to a bigger conflict that would start if Russia was kicked out of the SWIFT banking system. Now, it's important to note here that only some banks were kicked out from the SWIFT banking system in Russia. Some banks still exist. This has already started what some people are calling a run on the banks in Moscow, as you could already see long lines at the ATMs as some Russians are scrambling to get their money out of their bank accounts, since, of course, if they get kicked out of the SWIFT banking system, they won't be able to do so. In response to this news, Putin has just ordered nuclear deterrence forces on special alert in response to this move, which he said he would respond to. Now, this is a partial banning here, which is important. It's not a full banning, but obviously this is one key important foreign policy decision that we have to keep a close eye on. Specifically, when it comes to the larger financial ramifications here, which are important since, of course, Russia is a major exporter of energy on the world market. This is why this latest instability has caused energy prices to skyrocket, which directly benefits Russia. Some people are even arguing that with this war, Russia has been able to actually gain more money, even though they are sanctioned, mainly because they're earning more money as the price of oil goes up. And as some American politicians are telling you to dump your bottles of Russian vodka, banning importation of them in some instances, we still have to understand here that the United States and Germany and many Western allies still depend on Russian oil, which they are continuing to import into their country. When they do so, this finances Russia and gives them a lot of money. And with how complex this entire situation is, it's looking like Russia is actually making money off of this war. Already, our financial systems are reeling, and there's a lot of implications here. The corporate media is trying to blame a lot of the financial instability on these latest developments in Ukraine. They, of course, play a significant part of it, but of course, the problem has been here for a very long time. The European Union also announced that they are completely closing their airspace to any kind of Russian aircraft that now is forbidden to fly over their countries. There's been, of course, major cyber attacks against Russian state media organizations like RT. Also, 6 government Russian websites have been taken down. As of course, there's also an aspect of cyber warfare here, as even Turkey has announced that they are implementing a pact that will limit Russian warships to the Black Sea. Turkey is a major NATO country. They most likely got a political favor in order to do this, and this creates a very complex situation that has a lot of interconnected pieces here that, of course, do affect you. What will happen with Russia? Well, as we could see from Putin's latest moves, that he's becoming more unpredictable. Vladimir Putin lied about a limited military operation in Ukraine and then launched a full-scale invasion of it. Ukraine is obviously the serious underdog here. They are outmanned, they are outgunned, and Russia was the one that aggressed upon them first. How long is Putin willing to keep his troops inside of Ukraine? How will the Ukrainians fight back? Will their insurgency plans work? As we previously detailed, that was their main plan here. Will Putin send in 2/3 of his troops finally into Ukraine? Will he start using his serious munitions, which he hasn't yet been doing? Will he expand towards Poland after conquering Ukraine, possibly? Will this happen within the next few days or the next few months? Well, those are very serious questions that I'm currently investigating in order to find out. On the first kind of whim, I do think that this conflict has the potential of going on for months, but that's just some of my preliminary analysis from everything that I'm seeing right now. I might be completely wrong about that, but do you have any answers to all of those questions that I asked? If you do, let me know down in the comment section below. As we're making this video, we also got the news that the Ukrainians and Russians have agreed to finally sit at the table together and agree to talk to each other. And who knows, this conflict could end when these world leaders and politicians talk to each other. Overall, I think that would be one of the best important situations that would de-escalate this entire conundrum and prevent more loss of life. And before ending this broadcast, I wanted to highlight this post by Representative Victoria Spats that talked about a Serbian saying that says, quote, "In war, the politicians give ammunition, the rich give the food, and the poor give their children. When the war is over, the politicians get back the leftover ammunition, the rich grow more food, and the poor search for the graves of their children." And I think this Serbian saying is more important and more relevant than ever. And if you agree, share this video with your friends and family members. Again, very complex situation will continue to unfold. A lot of interconnected pieces here that are absolutely confusing for a lot of people to understand. I hope I made you somewhat understanding of it. If you think so, like this video. And I wouldn't be here if it wasn't for you. This is why I love you guys. Stay tuned for more here on wearechange.org.